Buenos dias, amigos. Yes, I'm speaking a little Spanish because I live in Mexico, if you don't know that already. Today, we are going to install the pop lock tailgate lock, the automatic lock for your key fob, so I can lock the doors along with the tailgate. Because sometimes I forget, I unlock the tailgate and I forget to lock it, and for safety and security reasons. So if you guys, I said before, when I install something next on my truck, then I'm gonna try to record it and put it on YouTube so you guys can have another resource on how to install certain things. As you can see, this is my baby right here. This is a 2014 Toyota Tundra SR5. Obviously, I've done a lot to it. But one thing that I've been wanting to do was put a wireless lock, if you will, in the tailgate. This is a manual lock. So I'm going to record myself doing that today, and hopefully this helps you guys out. So you guys can see, here's my little setup. Got all the pieces that came with it. The actuator, the wiring harness that's going to run from the passenger side of the truck to the back of the truck. Everything that you need comes right in the box. And I've watched a few videos already. Looks like a pretty simple process, but I'm going to take you through how I do it, and like I said, hopefully give you guys another video reference that will help you in your installation. Like I said, the videos I've seen looks pretty easy, so let's get to it. Now, when you open up the box, I forgot to mention this, it does come with instructions and a QR code that I scanned with my tablet, and it gives you step-by-step instructions on how to install this. And it looks relatively easy, not very time consuming. I think it's going to take me at least an hour to do this. So without further ado, let's get to it. Okay, so obviously the first thing you want to do is pop the hood, make our way here to the front. The first thing you want to do is disconnect your negative cable. With everything that I install in here, this is one of the best things I did, was replace this clip here. It makes it so much easier to take this thing off. So there we go. Negative terminal disconnected. So next on the instructions is to remove the service panel on the back of the tailgate. So you can see in the back there are 2, 4, 6, 8 screws that we're going to remove. Okay, all screws are out. Put those there, and just lift this panel to get to the actual lock. So I won't lie to you, trying to orientate what you see in the instructions and what's in front of you is a little difficult. So I'm just that kind of person. I got to put the instructions in the same fashion, the picture in the same orientation as what I'm looking at. So what the instruction says is to remove this 10mm socket, this bolt, and discard it and replace it with the one that comes in the pack, which is this one. My mistake. What's the stock screw or bolt is actually a 5/16. So you're going to remove this one. And this is a little hard to do with one hand. There you go. Out. Now let's get this actuator in there. So I'm just going to go ahead and give you a heads up. The way they have this pictured on here is actually backwards. If you're trying to orientate what you see in the picture and what's down here, this is actually flipped. So it took me a second, but just so you know, you want the actual, where you actually stick the key and engage the lock, that little piece that goes up and down to actually lock the tailgate fits right in this little piece, this little C, if you will. And to be honest with you, once you get this through the hole, I had to squeeze it in through here. Once you get it in here, it sits perfectly in place. So I think once you do that, you'll realize you have it in the right spot. But just take note that the actual part that moves when you lock, this is the lock under here. I know it's getting, that's the lock under there. That little piece, that little arm that actually engages the lock in the tailgate handle fits right in this C. And what's going to happen is this thing's going to go up and down and actually lock this thing automatically. Now this is actually a 10mm bolt that comes with the pack, and that fits right in there. Let me tighten that up. Go. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Any Austin Power fans? The instructions say to just toss this, so there you go. Okay, so the next step in this process is to remove the grommets from the tailgate to the truck. So you have two. You have one right here and one right here, and these will be replaced by two that are in the kit. I actually watched another guy's video who made the mistake and tried to create another place for these cables that you're about to run. I believe it's this one. And just so you guys know, heads up, look at your equipment. There are actually two grommets that come with it that are replacing the ones that are on the truck. Now, I did see a couple people using screwdrivers, flat tip screwdrivers, to try to pop this out. I mean, we're not going to salvage the grommet. We're going to put some new ones in, but just creature of habit, I like to use soft plastic, removers. That way I'm not gouging or scratching or causing any more damage to my truck than I intend to. Just a little tip. Now, this was difficult to do with one hand, so just to let you guys know, basically what you're going to do is just push this in and stick your little prior, your tool in here and just push it out. Simple. And if you look at this grommet on the side, there's like another clip that fastens this in place, and you just basically just use your finger. I use my finger and just pop it, and it separates just like that. Real easy. And these are the new ones that are going to go in there. So the next step in the instructions is to run this harness from the actuator through the back of this tailgate, through where the grommets were, to the truck. Now, as you can see, it's kind of hard to get back there. My hand is not going to fit, or arm for that for that matter, is going to fit through there. So I advise you use a wire hanger, and as you can see, I've obviously done stuff before running wires throughout this truck, and you can see old tape on there, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to run this wire hanger through that hole, up through where the grommets were, and tape the other end of this there, and make my life a whole lot easier. So again, I needed both of my hands to do this, but I managed to run the wire through the grommet spot up to where I need to run the cable back through here. So got the harness connected, male to female obviously, so you can't mess this up. Just connect it there. I have the other end taped to my wire hanger, and hopefully it works perfectly if I don't get snagged anywhere and it rips it off. But let's run it through. I think I'm going to need both hands for this. Yeah, I definitely needed two hands for that, but voila, got the harness through. I tell you, some of the simplest things that aren't meant to be tools work out as great tools. Okay, so let's get these two wires put inside these grommets. This is going to take two hands, so just letting you know that's the next step. There's one here, and I got another one for here. Reminder, these are in the pack, so don't forget that. Okay, this was a little bit harder than it should have been. So take note, you want to run this cable to the top. I'm assuming all the trucks are the same. Just know that that little notch, these little tabs go on the opposite side of that, and you want to run the smaller wire to the top. As I was sitting here trying to push this in, I was realizing that I was doing it wrong, and even then it still seems like it's not sitting the way I want it to, but this side is sitting better, and I think it's the snagging of the cables that's making this a little bit popping out, but nonetheless it's doing its job. So take note, smaller wire to the top. Here at the bottom, it runs to the bottom. So I don't know if that helps. Now this next step is the zip tie, the excess wire that's running from the actuator to the truck. And to be honest with you, what they provided in the set, very long. And if you're like me, I don't like to be messy when I'm trying to organize my wires, so I'm going to use these little zip ties to zip tie these two cables together so they're not bouncing around. You know, little organization here. And there you go. One here and one there. Looks much better. Okay, so just so you guys know, frame of reference, I guess, if you will. Show you the underside of the truck, and there is the plug. This plug is going to run, and we'll get to that later, all the way down to the front passenger side. And that takes us to our next step, and that's removing the scuff panel on the passenger side and removing the passenger side kick panel. to access all the wiring in the back. Here's the side scuff panel that we're going to remove, and the side kick panel. Relatively easy to do, and I'm probably going to have to do, I can see if I can do this with one hand. Again, comes in handy to use something soft to do this so you're not gouging into your panels. And this shit comes up just one. There you go. Voila. And if you look right here, there's a screw, a bolt that comes off here that removes this whole panel. Real easy to take off, but unfortunately I need two hands to do that, so be right back. So the instructions also say to pull back the carpet and find the rubber garment that leads to the bottom side of the truck, as you see here. Let's do that. Now, as you can already see, which I don't know how that popped out of there, but I have some wiring that I need to tuck back behind here, which is good that I'm pulling this carpet back for that. That was for my side mirrors, another video. So we're going to take the carpet and we're going to peel it back without pulling the wiring, which I hope I just didn't do. Now we're good. And just peel this back like so. And under here, I believe, somewhere is the garment. I need both hands for this. Okay, this was definitely a two-hand operation, and I was hoping I didn't have to pull up this padding. Unfortunately, you have to get to the grommet that is, and I hope I can catch this. You can see the hole right there. That's where you're going to run your wire. This grommet right here and run the wires, and this is where everything's going to end up going. Just so you know where to pull this off, and this is going to be the first time I crawl under here. And I just discovered that I just made my life possibly a little harder because I have, there it is. Maybe not. It's going to end up going through that hole right there. And at first I thought, because I have a Cadillac converter protective plate, that I was going to have to remove that to get to it, and I don't think I will. So I can reach back there pretty good. So luckily I haven't had my truck running for a few hours, and this isn't going to be hot. But just so you guys know, from that hole, it's going to run all along toward the back. And since this is what I'm eventually going to do, I'm just going to go ahead and plug this in, and I'm going to run it from the back of the truck all the way to the front. Because I have been through this scenario too many times and have installed many things in this truck, upon looking at this whole step in this process, what's going to make my life easier is to do this. So I have tied the plug that's going to go to the back of the truck to my trusty hanger through the hole, and I've already placed this. Obviously this is a two-hand operation. Already ran it to the back of my cat plate, and I'm just going to pull this through. So I'm going to grab some of this excess wire. I'm going to place it up here so I'm not, just push it in. There you go. And I should be able to get under here and pull it. Hopefully it doesn't get snagged in the hole, and it's already made it through. And voila, problem solved, problem staying solved. And with the grommet, I already placed a hole for the wire to run through, and we're going to place this right back, and we're going to have the wires come through this side into the cab of the truck to be wired here at some point. Need both hands for this. Okay, got the wire through. Okay, so I have the wire running through the grommet. The grommet is placed back in its original position, and I have the wire. I'll show you that first. Again, this is definitely a two-hand operation. So you can see there's the grommet. Get it better. There you go. So there's the grommet back in place, and the wire harness that we're going to eventually tap into these wires here. And I have it running all the way to the back of the truck. Obviously I'm not going to fasten it into place because once we get everything connected, I want to test it and make sure everything is functioning before we put everything back the way it was. So, next step. So the next part, now this is really cool because the video that I saw had you tapping in to, and I already unplugged the wire, had you tapping into two of these wires with some wire taps, and then you were going to plug one of these harnesses into that. I believe it's this one. However, a new updated version of this has you using a bypass cable that plugs into the male end. So you can't screw this up. In fact, now that I'm looking at it, no, I may have the right plug. And then you plug this into the female end of the truck. This is the truck. This is the wiring from the truck. This is into the truck. And you have a bypass with these two plugging into this, which will eventually plug into this. Much easier process. Need two hands for this. So here you go. Again, much simpler process. Having this little bypass cable. That way you don't have to tap into any of the wires. I love that. So the next step in the process, and I'm not reading this out loud, you guys. When you go through this process, you can read it. We're going to do, this is the cable that's running from under the truck, blue-green. We're going to plug those into the blue-green of this plug. So let's do that. So there you go. If you guys ever used these before, those pop in nice and easy, nothing, no struggling. And the next part is plugging these two ends to their corresponding colors that you are on this bypass cable. Blue to blue, green to green. And there you have it. Everything is connected. So what we're going to do next, before I put everything back together and assume that it's functioning right, is I'm going to plug the negative cable back to the battery of the truck, and we're going to test this to make sure it works. Okay, we got the negative battery terminal connected. I got my keys. Let's test it. All right, first before I go, okay, the doors are open, but battery's back on, so let's double check. Okay, let me close the door. Make sure everything's clear. Close the door. Here we go. Oh yeah, looking good. Unlock. Looks like we got it. Let's pop this up to make sure it actually does in fact lock it. So, locked. Unlocked. We are in business, baby. I was going to take the negative terminal off, but there's no more wiring to be done. Everything needs to be put back into place, so I'm just going to leave it right there. So the next part of the instructions literally just has you wiring it, putting all this back together, and fastening the wire all the way down to the tailgate. Take note, as you see on the diagram, has you running down, there is a wire that comes from under this backside that I'm going to show you a video of this when I'm done with it, and I'll show you how I fastened it all the way down. But take note, and it's warning, do not fasten it near anything hot, the exhaust area or whatever, otherwise you're going to end up burning the cables and you're going to ruin all your good work. But if you take note of the pictures, and I'm going to show you a video after I'm done where it's being fastened, obviously I need both hands for that. So after this, I will show you exactly how I wired it all the way down. All right, already got the side panel and the skip plate back in place and my floor mats. And I already see this damn thing. I can never get this back in right. There's like a little clip here that latches to this, and it never gets on there right. So to complete this operation, the last thing you need are the zip ties that come with it and little clips, because I don't like them dangling. So as soon as I finish wiring this, fastening it to the truck all the way down to the back end, I will show you how my work turned out. Okay, you guys, as promised. Okay, you guys, the job is complete. As promised, I'm going to go under the truck and I'm going to show you how I wired this. And it's a little time consuming, but it's not hard, very easy. And let me show you. So I already put the panel back together. Everything is screwed on tight, and we're gonna test this once more before I end this video. But let me get under the truck and let me show you how I wired this. So, as I stated earlier, I have a catalytic converter protector plate. So it was a little difficult to run the wire back from here, but it wasn't that hard. And you can't even see the wire where it's coming from. But it starts back over there somewhere, and it's running over the top. And here's a good example of where it's running on top. This wire here, this protector with all these wires that are inside of here, runs back over the top of this frame beam. And that's where I have the wires for the new truck bed lock running over the top. Now, as you can see, there's a catalytic converter here. The exhaust runs all the way back. So I tried to push it back as far as I could to protect the wire, and it's zip tied to these wires back behind here. You can't really see, it's hard to see, but it's running back this way. And you can see one of the zip ties I put right here. So it's on the other side of this, and I'm just running another one right here, just running it all the way down, again, back behind here. And keep note, here's the exhaust, there's the muffler, and it's running all the way back over the top of this beam here, coming back on the back end of here. And again, I tried to make an effort to push it over the top of these cables to give it some sort of protection away from the exhaust. Now, mind you guys, I have a dual exhaust system. It's a Flowmaster, and you can see one runs back this way and the other exhaust runs there. Typical Tundra has it coming off, I believe, the driver's side of the truck. But as we run, keep moving back, you'll see I've got exhaust pipes running all the way down. And I tried to tuck this back as far as I could to protect it away from the exhaust. Now I got to take a pause to get under this. All right, now we're on the other side. You can see there's a zip tie right there, and it's continuing to run back over the top of all of this up until where we plug it in to the tailgate. And I zip tied and put the remaining access cable over the top of this to keep it as far away from the exhaust, which is right here, and to give it some extra layer of protection, you know, from debris when driving, make sure it doesn't sever the cable. But that's pretty easy. A little pain in the butt to get under your truck, but you know, I gotta lift the truck, so it makes it so much easier to get under here and run the cable all the way to where the grommet was that runs out to the tailgate. And as you can see, it comes out from under here and out to the tailgate. So without further ado, let's test this to make sure it's running the way it's supposed to. All right, so here we go. Let's see where it's at right now. So right now it's unlocked. Lock. Locked. Unlocked. I'm not gonna pull it again. So it works perfectly. I'm so proud of myself. So there you have it, guys. Pop lock, truck bed, automatic lock that ties into your key fob and locks and unlocks with your doors. And I gotta tell you, not hard at all. Compared to a lot of things that I've installed on this truck, to include the headlights, to the light bars and the rock lights, this was probably, if I was to rank it from 1 to 5, 1 being easy, 5 most difficult, I'd give it a 2 or 3. It's easy. The most difficult part would probably be trying to get past the grommet that leads into the cab. And I got an updated version because the video that I saw prior to this had you tapping into the wires, and this had a bypass cable that you connect to the OEM plugs, and it was super easy, much easier. Not to say that tapping into a wire is hard, but I personally don't care to tap into wires if I don't have to, and this made it much easier. If you decide to take it off and sell it, or if it's not working, at least you don't have to pull, you know, it's just much easier. So I highly recommend this. Well, I mean, we'll see how this works over time, but if you need a truck bed lock that's going to lock with your key fob and the rest of your truck, so you don't forget to lock it, you know, I've done that several times, and that's why I bought this. this is a perfect solution to that problem. So if you're in the market to purchase one of these, just so you guys know, this is for the 2014 to 21 Tundra, and the model number is PL8547TUN. I don't know if you can see that. I bought this off of Amazon. It was around $100, which I think is worth the price, well worth the price, especially for something that if you feel the need to have it, I think it's well worth the price. Get it right on Amazon or go to Pop Lock. I'm sure they got it on their website. And anyway, that completes my video. I hope it was informative and helped you out. Adios.